Sonia, I have a surprise for you.
Cool.
No, ask me what it is. You're ruining the whole thing.
Okay, fine. What is it?
Okay, well, remember you told me last week that you wanted to meet someone that was an entrepreneur just like us and an author like you want to be?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I found the perfect person, and he's not only that, but he's also a mentor, an advisor, and a speaker to budding entrepreneurs like us.
Who is it?
Shawn Flynn!
Ooh, let's change before we get there. I have so many questions for him.
All right, let's go. Welcome to Moonshot Junior. Do you mind if I ask you a couple questions?
No, go ahead. And also, thank you for inviting me on your show. I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of everything you're doing, so thank you guys.
Can you begin by telling us a little bit about your book and, your idea behind this book?
So, about a year ago, I had an Amazon bestseller. The book was 10 interviews I did with industry experts here in Silicon Valley. The name of the book was just a reference library for Silicon Valley successes. So in the interviews, I wanted to put together a package of knowledge that anyone around the world could benefit, entrepreneurs at all ages, all locations. So the people I interviewed included like Doris Pickering, who is a professional speech coach that helps entrepreneurs prepare to present to investors. I interviewed Don Mayer, who's the head of Chamber of Commerce here in Mountain View in Silicon Valley. I mean, some of their members include LinkedIn, Google, Microsoft, and it talked about how entrepreneurs can connect with corporations through the local city, the Chamber of Commerce, and the resources that they have, such as the Small Business Development Center. And there's a lot of other interviews as well that was put together in this book. And I mean, it caught on a little bit. And since then, I've continued. The second book's almost ready. So a lot's happening there, mainly because everyone is so curious what's happened in Silicon Valley because they want to promote entrepreneurship where they are. They want to grow it. They want to help the ecosystem in their local environment.
That's really impressive. I'll make sure to get a copy of the book myself.
Of course.
So along with your book, we also heard you do the podcast. It sounds really interesting. Could you tell us a little bit more about it?
Yes, so actually the podcast is, I think I'm most proud of the podcast, to be honest. I have an amazing team. It's on the Investors Podcast Network. They have the #1 stock trading podcast, top 50 globally. They get 1 million downloads a month. And I'm one of the 5 podcasts total on their platform. Mine's called Silicon Valley. I interview the entrepreneurs and the experts here in Silicon Valley. So some of the people I've interviewed include Melody Perkins, the founder of Canva, Patrick Lee, founder of Rotten Tomatoes, Scott Kearns, co-founder of Juniper Networks, Osama Bader, founder of Point. They've raised like $125 million, soon to be unicorn. There's a huge list of VIPs here in Silicon Valley I've interviewed, and not to mention investment bankers, Connor Riley, crowdsource experts. I mean, I got to sit down with a rock star in his room and interview him. So the list goes on, and some of the people we have lined up are pretty incredible. And the idea behind the podcast is kind of to let everyone know outside what's happening in Silicon Valley. So it's very similar to the TV show. Very similar, create this resource of knowledge for the world. The people that I'm interviewing for this podcast, I mean, the people before, absolutely amazing. These people have that name recognition behind them. I mean, you Google search them, they come #1 on the search. And they're about an hour long. They come out every Thursday morning at Pacific Standard Time, normally 6 a.m. Every guest gets a caricature, such as the one there, and the information is just astounding. I mean, we had Shmuel Silverman. He invented 3G. He came on our show and talked about 5G technology and how it's actually going to change everything. But it's amazing because I have other guests from different sectors. Piero Scruffi, former artificial intelligence professor at Stanford and Harvard, he talked about autonomous cars and the problems that they're going to have. Shmuel Silverman comes on and goes, yeah, because of 5G, these problems that were mentioned before, they're able to be solved this way. And then I have Jonathan Rekatal, who used to be the chief technical officer of the city of Palo Alto, who's world renowned. He's, gets award after award after award for implementing technology in cities. He's talking about 5G playing a part this way. And it's amazing, all these experts here coming together in one place, and this knowledge people around the world can just gather and use. So as you're reaching out to the entrepreneurs, your same audience may also really get a lot from this and enjoy some of these interviews. And the podcast, you can access it anywhere, iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, or just go to the website, theinvestorspodcast.com/Silicon Valley. Click on it there. And I mean, I always reach out on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn as well. So I mean, we're really trying to build that knowledge, that bridge. And it's amazing because when you sit down with these experts, all you do is learn. So I as selfish as this sounds, I'm just learning all day long.
Do you think you learn a lot from these people?
Oh God, yeah. Because what they're saying is, I mean, for example, we had Thomas Coughlin, who's the current president of IEEE USA. They do a lot of the standards for the government, and he's talking about not 5G, he's talking about what's after 5G. So he's talking about stuff that we're not even going to be talking about for years, and he's having that conversation because these are the people that are developing that technology. So I get to hear what's going on in their mind. Another thing, like Shmuel Silverman, I mean, I'm just excited when I even talk about this. He's talking about technology in the past, Google Glass. There wasn't the bandwidth there for it, but with 5G technology and the speed, it actually works in small closed areas. And then I had this gentleman, Alman, who is a mentor for an antenna company, saying now we have to put an antenna every 150 feet or 200 feet, so that company's just going to go through the roof. And you're just listening to these people talk, collaborate ideas, and share it. And then you get the government policy people about, okay, this technology is coming out, how's the public sector going to respond? What's going to hinder the other or help the other to succeed? And you see all these aspects of the world play together. And the best part about having a podcast and reach, once you get to numbers, if there's someone out there you want to talk to, they open their doors. Like that's one of the most amazing things. I mean, I interviewed Melody Perkins, founder of Canva, $3.5 billion valuation. All these people now, I've gotten to the point where there's someone that has something interesting I want to learn about that I think that entrepreneurs, the audience may find valuable. I can normally get an interview with that person. And it's just going to continue to grow, so I'm very excited about it.
Congratulations on your podcast and your TV show.
Well, thank you guys. And I mean, congratulations on Moonshot Junior. I mean, I think we share very similar goals, wanting to help people out there and take the knowledge here and really bring it to the masses. So I actually applaud you guys more.
I think we learned a lot from you, so thank you so much for your time again today.
You've interviewed so many people on your show. Can you tell us one common quality that every entrepreneur has?
Oh God. I'd say there's more than one common quality, but I mean, could I say more than one? Is that okay? Well, one, they're always asking questions. And what I mean by that is they're asking questions that everyone else in the room stops and thinks and goes, oh my gosh, that's a game changer. How come I didn't think to ask that? Has this person thought, has this been asked before? Like, how does this change everything? So they're always asking questions. In fact, that's the one thing I think I've realized more than anything in Silicon Valley. The richest, most powerful, most successful people are the ones that ask the best questions. Another, they're always hungry to learn. Curiosity. If there's something they don't know about, they will deep dive. They will not sleep for a whole night. They will research anything. They'll talk to anyone. They'll reach out. They'll do anything to get the knowledge that they want. And they have that grit factor, which I'm sure you've heard about before. TED Talks, books, everything. I mean, that's so important, that drive as an entrepreneur. So asking questions, hungry for knowledge, tenacity, and I'd say there's one more quality that they all have. Okay, I'm trying to think of that right now. But they're able to see the world from a third person point of view. So what I mean by that is we're having a conversation right now. I see the world from my eyes, you see the world from your eyes. But an entrepreneur is able to see it from a spectator's eyes. They're able to see it from someone that's looking in on the conversation and has a different perspective. Why is this person thinking this way? Why is that person thinking that way? Is there another point of view that could also be added to this conversation?
Why do you think that's so important to have perspective?
If you can look at the world from someone else's eyes, your view of it becomes so much bigger, so much more expansive. You don't get locked into this one little small community. You now are able to say, okay, when I'm in this conversation with this one person, maybe it's older than me, maybe it's younger than me, maybe they're from this country, that country. Why do they have the opinion they do? You know, where did their knowledge come from? How strong do they view this idea versus that idea? And then the conversation becomes more open and they can ask more questions and they can develop new ideas. That they just don't have that same thing from the past. They're able to grow and develop. And I think that's one thing in Silicon Valley is so amazing. You have all these people with so many different backgrounds collaborating and with an open mind of, okay, this person's point of view is coming from this situation, this person's point of view is coming from over here. I'm over here looking into it, even though they may be in this small little circle. But they're really trying to put all the pieces together and they think more three-dimensional. The big picture, why did this person say no to this? Is it because of a rule, because of experience, because of something else influencing? Just being able to think from more points of view really allows growth. So I would say those four things, all entrepreneurs have, and there's many others, but I think you can really narrow it down to asking questions, open mind, tenacity, and hunger for knowledge.
Those are some skills that we want to get to.
Oh, you already have them. What are you talking about? You're here. You got it.
Talking about entrepreneurship, what's the most important thing you need to have a startup?
To launch a startup? I think you said, or have an idea, but if you just want to create your own path, ideas will come. So I think maybe the most important thing is not wanting to follow kind of the norm. If you want to follow the norm, it's a comfortable life. In fact, it's a really nice life. You know you're going to go to school next, you know you're going to work at this, you know it's all planned out. But when you take that risk as the entrepreneur and say, hey, I have an idea, I have other paths I want to try, it's risky in that. But if you have the hunger to try, that I think is the first step for the entrepreneur. Not the determination so much, the willingness to take one step out of the normal path. You can see the path ahead of you and you see all these bushes on each side of the path. If you're willing to take one step out, then you have a whole fresh view of the landscape. And it's that first step that is what an entrepreneur needs.
Yeah, so we'll work more on your suggestions. So can you tell us about the importance of networking in business?
Oh gosh. So networking is key to so much. Going back to looking at the world from a third person's point of view, how much knowledge can you have as an individual? If you were to put all the knowledge in the world in a pie chart, 100%, I probably know maybe 0.0001, maybe we'll round that up to 50%. But you can't really know that much. And the more you're an expert in something, the more it's even more focused. But when you have your network, your area of knowledge keeps growing, keeps expanding. And that helps so much as an entrepreneur because you really don't know what you don't know. And for example, there's startups that come talk to me and they go, we're at this stage right now. What's next? Great. Let me introduce you to these people that work with companies at your stage. Maybe you want to talk to this one person that will give R&D tax credits, research and development credit for all the engineers you pay. Most people don't know that's possible. Okay, you're almost ready for fundraising. Have you talked to a speech coach yet? Wait, I need a speech coach? Yes, you need your story, your pitch deck, everything locked in to convey what you're doing. Okay, hey, you just hired a few engineers. Have you talked to HR? Do you know that you're compliant with California laws? California laws, but none of us are getting paid. Whoa, settle down there, buddy. Let's not get this to come back to, kind of bite you later when you're successful. So, but when you have a network, you can ask them questions. What was your experience here? Hey, can you introduce me to this person here? One thing I really find interesting is say you have a B2B company or B2C company, and it takes a normal sales cycle for your product, you've done industry research, 6 months to a year, from the time you do a cold email, to setting up that call, to explain the product, to having that meeting, sitting down, maybe signing a contract. Well, if you have a network, maybe someone goes, hey, I know someone at that company, I'll just connect you guys over coffee. Let's just all meet together next week. So you've just gotten 6 months out of the way because of your network. And when you're telling people what you're doing, people can suggest ideas to you. People can say, hey, this has worked, this hasn't worked, talk to this person. I mean, I'd say the most valuable thing in Silicon Valley is that network, that experience of mentors, advisors, and people that can help you. And entrepreneurs anywhere in the world that have a network locally that they can tap into are so far ahead of anyone else out there. So say we have an idea, exact same idea. You don't know anyone, or very good, I don't know anyone, you don't, but you know everyone. Okay, what do I do first? Do I hire people? Do I incorporate my business? Do I create a website? You reach out and go, hey Tim, I need a website built. Who do you recommend? This person? Great, when can it get done? Hey, Sunil, I have a question for you. I need to hire a head person of sales, but I also need funding for it. Who should I talk to? Oh, these 2 meetings lined up. As I'm sitting there going, okay, I'll just learn WordPress myself, and 3 months later, you have your product, you're in stores, you're selling. I'm sitting there, I basically got nothing, but we started at the same spot, but you had that network.
The importance is the connection.
Connections and the knowledge that those connections have, if you really look at the connection, what's the value of the connection? I mean, if I know so-and-so that fixes cars, great, that helps me when my car breaks down. Is that really gonna help me with my startup in my entrepreneur journey? But if I know that mentor that works at an incubator, an accelerator, or the angel investor that's experienced, that connection can add so many more different paths, can add so much more value. So it is the people in the network, who they are, their background, that adds different value.
Do you think building relationships is really important?
Oh yeah, building and maintaining. A lot of people will do first time introductions, get coffee, and then let things go cold. And then a year or two later, you might run into someone and go, hey, what have you been up to? Oh, I'm doing this. Really? You should have reached out to me 6 months ago. But not having that warm relationship where you're in the back of everyone's mind, where they could be at an event and go, I should really introduce so-and-so to so-and-so. This, what we just talked about, would apply to them. Or these two, if they connect. So always staying fresh in people's minds. So relationships, with warm relationships, back in people's mind, keeping everything. I mean, that's important.
Do you think it works for kids too?
Oh, networks? Oh God, yeah. So I gave a talk maybe about a year and a half ago at the Mountain View Chamber to a bunch of high schoolers. And my question to them was, how many of you are planning on doing an internship? And they all raised their hand. And then I asked who has their internship lined up, and no one raised their hand. And I asked them, why not? And they all said, we don't know anyone. And then I asked them, I said, who here has someone whose father or mother works at LinkedIn? 2 hands went up. Who here has a father or mother that works at Google? A few hands went up. And I said, who here wants an internship at LinkedIn? All the hands went up. Who here wants an internship at Google? All the hands went up. So they had this network that they could have reached out to. I mean, if you're best friends with someone, would you say, hey, you want an internship at Google? My dad works there, and they're letting a few high schoolers do an internship there, or this company or that. Let me make an intro, maybe something can happen. And that goes for college applications as well. You want to go to Berkeley, Stanford? How great would it be to have a professor there write a recommendation letter? And especially here in Silicon Valley, that's definitely possible. Either someone you know, or you could attend an event at the Stanford campus given by a lecturer there, get to know them. There's a lot of ways that you can build a network now that can help you grow and develop. I mean, how many parents do you know in this area that work at companies you want to work at when you graduate college? And it would be great right now to just reach out to all of them on your LinkedIn, add them to it, and just so you build that network. Ask around. And even in high school, how many, I'm not sure now, it's been a while, but I'm guessing so many things are still done on popularity, either special clubs or events. I mean, a network is a little bit of popularity there. So if you have a strong network, You might get that little bonus on your college resume, or who knows. But networks open up a lot of doors.
So Sai and I, we make a lot of learning videos with Moonshot Junior to educate kids about entrepreneurship. So how important is free knowledge sharing for you as a mentor?
I mean, for me it's a big deal because it gives back to the community, but it also is a way for me to learn. I actually learn more from mentoring and coaching, and I also teach a master's class at a university not too far from here on entrepreneurism. And actually I learn a lot more there than in my regular job, just because of the questions that are asked. Why this, why that? Why this, why that? And it makes me second guess things, go, okay, really, why is that? So no, mentoring and giving knowledge, it's extremely valuable because you're learning in the process, and you're also reevaluating what you know. Maybe what you know is either outdated, maybe you didn't ask the right questions before, maybe you realize you need to be doing other things in the future. So I would give knowledge as much as possible. Now for free knowledge, getting it from other people, that also depends on who's giving it, if it's a reputable source or not. And you can tell over time. I mean, there's so much free stuff on the internet now, and a lot of it's not that good. But you notice that a lot of those people get filtered out pretty quickly. And what I mean by that is there's a lot of these get-rich gurus that you hear about for a few months and then disappear because people realize the information they were given just didn't pass. There weren't the results. But then there's other people out there that are given some information and it's catching on, and people are spreading it, and those people that are spreading it and using it are getting results. So the key for the whole industry are the ones that give quality content will be the ones that survive and grow and help more and more people. The other ones, well, luckily things move fast now.
So you don't believe knowledge sharing is always good unless it's provided by a specific channel that you can trust?
No, I believe knowledge sharing is good, but the knowledge, almost buyer beware. I mean, you have to kind of vet the knowledge itself to see if it's really good knowledge. I mean, a lot of people can tell you a lot of things that can hurt you. Other people can tell you things that can help you immensely. So it really depends on who's the source, but I also think people should be able to freely give information, because just because you may not have a title or something on your resume doesn't mean you don't know something.
So thank you for the clarity. And I actually recently visited China, and I was really impressed with the vibrant work culture in that country.
Oh, haven't you worked there for a couple of years?
So I lived in China from 2008 to 2013. I had a couple companies there. One did okay. My partner bought me out. I came back in 2013. Since then, wherever I've worked has had almost every place I've worked since then has had a strong China connection.
Right.
So I think in the last 3 years I've gone to China about 14 times.
What is the work culture of that country compared to this one?
It's very different. It's evolving quite a bit. And I only want to say that my experience for this country is really Silicon Valley. And Silicon Valley, I'd say, is different than the rest of the country and the world. With that, the culture there is changing quite rapidly. So one thing there that is very different is the hierarchy society. Where you're kind of born it's difficult to move up levels. But I would say that's changing quite a bit. Whereas right now, people have a belief, a vision that they can move up. And that's great for the startup ecosystem. So whereas before it might have been looked down upon to be an entrepreneur, it's getting more accepted and actually more glamorous to be one. Such as here in Silicon Valley, where that lifestyle is looked at as rather positive.
How do you think the work ethic in China is different from the work ethic
in Silicon Valley? I don't think it's that different. And the fact that people here work, like just day and night, if they have an idea, they work. Whereas there is they work long hours, ridiculous hours. I'm not sure some of that time how productive things are. Just like here, when people work so many hours, there is that lack of productivity for some of that time. But I'd say it's more acceptable to put in more hours. What I mean by that is your wife, your husband, your significant other is more accepted if you have 12-hour work days, 7 days a week. Whereas here, that leads to a lot of divorces, a lot of arguments, a lot of not understanding, even though the other person is trying to improve their career, trying to make money. It's different family dynamics, different cultural dynamics. But the two countries are so intertwined that over time, some techniques or some norms from one culture will be adopted by the other and vice versa.
So how do you see China contributing to the startup ecosystem of Silicon Valley?
I mean, they're a huge influencer, especially with engineers. Their engineering talent is pretty incredible. A lot of smart students, Stanford, Berkeley, and other schools in the Bay Area that start companies here, that grow them. A lot of them take them back to China, help them grow and develop there. I mean, even before the trade war, there was some hindrance of overseas capital, Chinese investors being allowed into Silicon Valley to invest. Whereas before that, say 2017, there was a lot more money being invested here. So now it's being limited to more engineers, more hands-on. But people want to enter the Chinese market, and to do that, you need guidance from locals, from how to go about the regulations, how to go about. I mean, it's a different world. It's literally a different world. Having a business there and having a business here, and it's very difficult to be successful in both. So many have tried, so many have failed. I mean, it's really, you have to have your company specific towards those. So, but Silicon Valley, it's a globe in a small area. I mean, there's so many countries, so many regions that have impacted this area so much. There was a study by the Bay Area Council about the overseas economic influence in Silicon Valley, and actually it was Europe that has the most incubators here in Silicon Valley, which I was unaware of. Something like 120. It's a huge number. So there is really that global connection, but yeah, China's a huge player.
Is there any China stories you'd like to share with us?
Oh gosh, I mean, there's too many. To be honest, anything from helping companies go over there for delegations to my time living there.
Any stories about you living there?
I got funny stories. I mean, one of my favorite stories that, I don't know, not sure how much I should share, but one of my favorite stories was me and a couple buddies, we really wanted to go camping on the Great Wall. And you'll hear the story. So it was me, there's about 6 of us total. And there's a few areas of the Great Wall that are standard for tourists, right? But we all spoke Chinese. And we're like, okay, we're not gonna go there. So we asked the local, he had the little 3-wheel motorcycle. There's 2 of them, and we just sat in the back. We're like, hey, could you drive us, way down the road to the wall where there's no people? He was like, yeah, sure, So we gave him some money. They drove us all the way down. It's starting to get dark. We had our tents, we had our sleeping bags, we had everything. We were set. And then as we're walking, we look behind us, and there's just 2 guards. And we're thinking, okay, as long as we keep walking, eventually, time's gonna end, and they're just gonna leave us alone. Because the Great Wall goes on forever. I mean, let's be honest here. This thing's not over. So we're walking. They keep following us. Eventually, we're like, okay, let's talk to these guys. So we wait. They walk up. We start talking. They pull out the cigarettes. Do the whole sure. We're like, oh, great. And they ask us, do you guys want to buy overnight tickets? And we're like, oh God, this. We all know what this means. And of course, they started off at 3,000 RMB, and then we whittled it down, all the way down to it's $10 a person. It was so cheap, but it was just so hilarious because we just ended up thinking like, we think these are just two farmers, like, that they just saw us and we're like, we don't know. And the whole thing was like, yeah, you guys just, make sure no one dies tonight. Like, that's literally what they said. They're like, just, it's gonna get cold, just don't die. Like we're gonna be good. Oh my God, it was freezing. And we made it through the night, and actually I brought a kite with me because that was like part of my vision, was to fly a kite on the Great Wall. So I actually have a picture of me at 4 a.m. when the sun's rising with me holding a kite on the Great Wall, and there's 0 people anywhere. So it's one of my favorite pictures, one of my favorite stories. And it was funny too, because in the next morning, we're walking this way, and the first tourists were going this way, and they're looking at us going like, wait, we don't understand, because we got here before they allowed anyone else on the wall, and we're just going, our merry way back. And it's one of those stories, it's like, oh my God, looking back, I can't believe we did it. But that was way too long ago.
You're a well-known speaker and mentor, so what's the best advice you have for entrepreneurs who are just starting out?
Oh, good. What we talked about earlier, I'd say is key. The fact that, have grit, ask questions, have to learn, building your network. All those things that we talked about in this interview are huge to start. And to be honest, you don't even need an idea or a company to start all that. So what I mean is, maybe that's the path you want to take. Start building your network today. There's no reason you can't right now go to a bunch of events, reach out to people, just get to know what they're doing, get to know different areas of business in preparation for that one day when it's time. There's a saying that I heard that I think really applies to entrepreneurism and fundraising, and that is, you feed an army for a year to use them for a day. So, think you have a whole year of training. You're feeding them, you're running, you're planning things out. They have one day of battle. Maybe they survive and win, maybe they don't, but that's what all the training's for. Same with entrepreneurism. Build your network, ask questions, find out what you don't know. For when that time comes, when you're ready, that you can just go full steam ahead and start. So that would be I'd say the best advice for entrepreneurs is start today with doing everything you can so that when the times come, you're ready.
So speaking of entrepreneurship, we already know that Moonshot Junior is an entrepreneurship platform, right? So how important do you think it is for kids to know about entrepreneurship and learn about entrepreneurship?
How important is it to have a mind where you're not scared, you don't have fear about the next day? And what I mean by that is entrepreneurs always see opportunity. No matter what happens in the economy, no matter what happens with the government, maybe they have to move countries, maybe they have to move cities, maybe they have to change their business, maybe they have to pivot. But they always have a positive outlook in the sense that they know that in the long run, they're going to be fine. And then you have everyone else in the world, and I'd say most people, that really live in fear day to day. So it's how important is having that confidence. I think that's the importance of being an entrepreneur mindset.
So starting young gives a lot of exposure to kids, right?
Oh yeah,
When did you start?
Me?
Yeah.
Really thinking back, I was that kid that, it's funny, this sounds hilarious. I was selling rocks as paperweights to people that walked by my house on the morning walk. So I forget how old I was, maybe like 5 or 6. Yeah, because I was a good salesperson. And I'd sell these rocks for like 5 cents, and I thought I was making a ton of money. But I just had a box. I had the round rocks that I found in the front yard. After a while, I realized, if I paint them, more people actually like them. So I had like ones with yellow tops and stuff like that. And people would come by like, what is that? I'm like, it's a paperweight. Do you have a paperweight? And they're like, I'm like, is your desk a mess? Well, you need a paperweight. My dad has a paperweight, and his desk is all ordered. And they'd be like, I'd be like, it's 5 cents. And maybe I was charging 10 cents, who knows? But then, that expanded to friendship bracelets, to like all these other like little random things. So as funny as that sounds, and then my dad had a store and actually did sell friendship bracelets there. And it was actually funny because I remember talking to customers like, this one would be perfect. Like, it's not long enough for my wrist. It should be this length. I go, oh my God, they're supposed to be this length? And then I remember one lady, I actually was smart enough to go, oh, that's the bookmark size. That's for bookmarks. And she's like, oh. And you know, when like, how old was it, like 7 or 8? When the person that age like kind of confronts you and you're an adult, you're like, fine, I'll pay the $1 because this little kid just like one-upped me. So like sometimes my dad would come home and be like, yeah, there's 3 sold today or whatever. And I'd be so thrilled because that would be all the money in the world, you know. But so I'd always done little random things like that.
So since we're looking forward to being skilled interviewers, can you tell us about the key qualities of an interviewer?
Oh gosh, same as the entrepreneur, but I mean definitely learn a couple of tips and tricks for guests. I mean, at the end of this, I'm sure you're gonna ask me, hey, you know, if you had so much fun, can you introduce me to 2 people that could be future guests? Here's, you know, pictures of the interview. Can you tweet them out to all your social media to gain traction? Here's some quote. You know, a lot of it is creating a win-win situation for you and the guest. How can you paint that picture? And that's the same in business as well. How can you create a win-win situation for you and the customer, you and your team, you and everyone around you, you and your whole network? That whole given mentality versus just get. So the same with being a good interviewer, having your show here. I mean, make it a win for everyone involved, and you guys are going to be so successful.
Thank you so much. I think that's all the questions we have for today. Thank you so much for your time.
No problem. Thank you guys for allowing me on your show. This was a lot of fun. I look forward to any follow-up interviews, and I look forward to seeing your success. And hopefully one day I'll be like, hey boss, I remember you so long ago. Please be nice. Oh, thank you guys. Good job, you guys.
Hey guys! I'm Sanya.
And I'm Samvi.
And if you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe, and comment down below what videos you want us to do next.
And for more content information, visit www.moonshotjunior.com.